Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Golden Nugget. My name is Mark, and I help people cultivate and elevate their soul. In today's video, I want to talk about. Today, I'm going to give some reflections on meditation, kind of inspired from a conversation that I had with a good friend the other night. And fundamentally, what I want to communicate with you in this video is this one meditation tip that I think that can change your practice forever. It's it's not it's easier said than done, but if you actually even have this in your mind, I think it will catapult your practice towards you really getting to a deeper knowing of yourself and towards a deeper cultivation of your essence and your soul. And so what I have in mind is, instead, usually when we sit down to meditate, we have a specific goal in mind, what we're attempting to accomplish. And usually that's like, oh, I want to feel more peaceful, or I want to have a beautiful experience, or I want to have a spiritual experience, or I want to have some profound insight into myself. And these are all really noble endeavors, but each of these endeavors create a bit of a potential for our failure. So what I encourage, and what the tip is fundamentally, and I'll unpack it a little bit more thoroughly, is, instead of imposing a specific experience onto your meditation, how about you simply work to observe whatever experience it is that you're having. So instead of imposing a specific experience, you observe. Your focus is to be on observing whatever it is that you are experiencing, right? Not trying to create an experience, but observing what you're experiencing. And one of the main reasons for this is that if we set out to have a profound experience, like I'm going to set this happened to a good friend of mine back in the day, because one of the first times he sat down and meditated, he had this like really like rainbow body type experience, and he saw rainbows coming out of his third eye, and it was extremely profound, and he felt like he was on a whole other level. And then the next time he went down to meditate, he was hoping to have that same sort of experience, and he didn't. And then he tried to meditate again, and he didn't have that experience. And then he tried to meditate again, and he still didn't have that experience. And after 3 or 4 tries, he actually stopped meditating for 10 years, 15 years at that point. And primarily because he was disappointed that he wasn't having a very specific type of an experience. So not only can, if you want to have a very specific experience and you don't have it, you can get discouraged and then stop your practice. Or what might even be worse than stopping your practice, is that you can continue to practice, and continue to search for a very specific type of an experience, and as such generate craving towards the thing that you're not having, and that craving becomes actually attention, and not attention but tension within the mind and the body, because you're not having the experience that you want to have. So those are like kind of the major pitfalls of trying to have a very specific experience, rather than simply sitting to observe, to calmly abide, to calmly observe whatever it is that's going on within the framework of your body at that given time, within your mind, within your body. For the most part, my practice, I consider myself a vipassanator, slaying demons morning and night through the observation of the sensation of what's going on within the framework of my own body. That's the foundation of my practice. I do a lot of other things like dance and write and try to play music, but Vipassana is definitely the cornerstone of my spiritual practice, I would say. And so a lot of where I'm coming from is coming from a 12-year practice with Vipassana, 12 years of practice with Vipassana. So now the problem is so like you just I'm saying to not have a very specific goal in mind, or not to have, like, not to desire a specific experience when you meditate, but simply to observe what it is that you're experiencing. And so you could say that the desire to be aware is something of an imposition. And I would say, okay, I suppose so. But what it is, it's more that we're attempting to create an environment and a structure that can allow whatever needs to happen to happen. So it's like an improvised jazz where the musicians agree that they're going to do the piece in a specific 3/4 timing or 4/4 timing, and then they go off and they riff within that framework. Or like improv comedy has certain rules to it, but anything can happen. And the rules, for what is it? It's something like never say no, always just keep the ball rolling, or something like that. And so what structure are we talking about that we're going to create with meditation that can allow to optimize the experience? And the structure, let me double check my notes here, because I was just making a few notes. Oh yeah, so because when you're not, when you create a structure and then you kind of let go of a specifically desired outcome, then you kind of you welcome the ever pervasive, omniscient, omnipotent source energy that governs all things at all time to kind of take over for you, and you kind of surrender the control drama that most people are engaged in life. And so what structure am I talking? What structure can you have rather than imposing a very specific experience onto your meditation? What structure? And the structure I have in mind is to shift your intention from having a specific experience to continuous awareness of what it is that you're experiencing. So you say, I'm going to sit for 20 minutes or for 1 hour, and I'm going to work to be aware. So my purpose is to be aware. I'm not looking to have a specific type of experience except for the experience of awareness. And so you cultivate the faculty of awareness. And the virtues of this are plentiful. I can talk about that. Basically, life passes us by so quickly, more often than not. And the reason for that is because we're not aware. And when we have conflicts at work, when we have conflicts in our relationship, it's because we're unaware of how we're imposing ourselves onto people, or we're unaware of the needs of a colleague or a lover or a child. And so when we sit and practice cultivating awareness in and of itself, we are giving ourselves the upper hand for every other aspect of our life that demands awareness, because awareness is key. Without awareness, you ain't got nothing. There's nothing there. And awareness, we can't really take it for granted. And I assure you that if you sit and you practice cultivating your awareness with continuity within the 20 minutes, but continuity day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, then you're just going to become more aware, more self-aware, more aware of your environment. And as such, you're going to have a better chance, not a better chance, but you're just going to get more joy out of life from this perspective, this new perspective of awareness. So that's the structure is you're working within the framework of awareness. So now that you're paying attention to whatever it is that you're experiencing during your seated practice, can you simultaneously work to not judge whatever it is that you observe, right? Who is it? Krishnamurti said that observation without evaluation is one of the highest one of the highest achievements of mankind, to simply observe and to not judge. So, for example, you could be sitting there watching this video wondering, why is this guy wearing sunglasses and a hat indoors? And you can see that I'm doing it, and you can observe it. You can create a story about it, and you can also come to a conclusion and make a judgment about it. But the judgment is neither here nor there. The fact is, it's happening. It's happening, And similarly for ourselves, when we begin to observe ourselves, it's easy to fall into narrative creation and to tell all sorts of stories that actually cover up our wounds and that compartmentalize our emotions through the narrative process of the ego. But really, if you just observe without judgment, you welcome more to the surface. So imagine that you're in relation to a friend, and every time they open up about something, you judge, critical, criticize. They're not going to open up as much. They're going to be like, well, screw this, And we have deep within ourselves, most of us, a lot of emotional complex, the inner child complex, or a variety of aspects within ourselves that have not been attended to for a very long time. And so if we invite our awareness into those difficult areas and then just become judgmental, it's going to cause things to seize up. And so one of the second structure that I'm inviting you to consider through your meditation practice, the first one being focus on awareness. Just focus on being aware. Aware of what? I guess I should clarify that. Let me come back to that in a second. But the second thing I'm saying is to practice not judging and just accepting whatever it is that's coming up as it is. This is what's happening. I feel miserable. Okay, that's how I feel. Even if you feel beautiful sensations within yourself, and like my friend that I talked about, who had the experience of this very psychedelic, almost meditative type of experience, what happened is he judged that as being a very, very good experience. And you could say it's interesting, but by judging it as being good, he instantly created a craving towards it. And so, I don't feel like I'm articulating that point as well as I'd like. But I will say these first 2 points, awareness and non-judgment, or non-judgment also understood within the Buddhist schema as equanimity. Goenka, the person who's disseminated a lot of modern day Vipassana, I think he's quite clear when he says that Vipassana, if Vipassana, the powerful modality of healing that Vipassana is a bird that is soaring, and one wing is awareness and the other wing is equanimity. These two things, the purity of awareness and the continuous cultivation of non-judgment through equanimity, is what allows you to soar through the experience of life. Those two things. And I had a third point. Yeah, I guess maybe just one other structural point might be, how do you sit? And I sit cross-legged. You're not getting a good demonstration there, but try to stack your spine for the most part. Get your head on top of your shoulders, on top of your body. You can sit like this. And be you can meditate and concentrate like this. Or you can try to put that chin in just a little bit. Have that posture here. And then, so you assume an erect, alert, at attention posture, and you cultivate stillness. So try not to move. You're going to have an itch here, you're going to have there, you're going to want to adjust. Try not to. Just try not to. Just try to cultivate stillness. And, as Goenka says, if you have an itch, if an itch arises, observe it. See how long it lasts, right? And of course, if you do get an itch and you need to scratch it, notice that you got an itch, notice that you scratched it, and don't judge yourself. Oh, I'm terrible because I had to itch myself. No, this is what happened. It's okay. That was part of the experience, and that's okay. And as it's said in traditional Chinese medicine, that when the body is still, the qi begins to move, the qi begins to flow. And I think that this is very true. This has been very much my experience, having gone into deep states of stillness with Vipassana. On the outside, the body is very still, but inside there's harsh, how can I say, like dynamites of energy just exploding and breaking through and opening up and unfolding and billowing out, and undulation of energy flowing within oneself. And that's what happens when you're still. If you're like always moving and always busy, like you're never settled and you don't allow things to rise up. So I've given 3 structures. I've given 1 pro tip, and the pro tip is shift your attention away from focusing on what type of experience you're having onto just being aware that you're having an experience. Put the shift of, right? You got that? And then 3 structures to allow for this awareness to unfold. And the last one was cultivate stillness. The second one is cultivate non-judgment. And the first one is just keep deepening. I guess the first one is the main pro tip, which is to just cultivate that energy of paying attention. Just observe. Observe. When you're not observing, observe that you've stopped observing. Can you do that? It's a thing. It's a real thing. Okay, and I had written down bonus challenge. It's not really a bonus challenge, but with everything that I've said, I'm going to share with you what for me was one of the biggest hurdles that I overcame. And that was like kind of like slightly like overcoming sleepiness when I tried to meditate, but also just overcoming a sense of boredom almost, or a sense of like, this is going nowhere, like nothing is happening. Sometimes when I meditate, I get like a lot of very complicated sensations, and I know that those complicated sensations are the unraveling of deep emotional complexes. And it kind of excites me because I know that when those things unravel, I'll be more free. Sometimes I have really beautiful sensations, and I work to not judge them and get attached to them. That was the point I was meant to make earlier. Don't get too attached. My friend got attached to a very specific type of experience because he valued it as being so good. And then when he didn't have it, he kind of lost his equilibrium, his equanimity. But when nothing is happening, so I could have like pain, or I can have like good, or like lovely sensations, subtle, sweet sensations. And either of those are kind of easy to manage, but managing there's this like, sometimes you just experience the void. Or I'll tell you what it is really, is that when you're about, and this is really deep, honestly, like I just gotta tell you, like this is like real inside information. When you're about to let go of something that's really big, something that's really painful, like let's say you're about to access a subconscious process or complex that has been governing your life and the way you've been showing up in the world and wreaking havoc, honestly, just kind of disrupting your own peace in your everyday. Oftentimes when we're about to the bigger the thing that we're just about to access, our spirit or our mind, our self-defense mechanism, it shuts down. It's like, no, 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 don't go there, don't go there. And it will do anything. It will put the mind into severe distraction. It will make you want to fall asleep. It'll give you 1,001 other things to do. The mind will even give you a brilliant book that you need to write. And you're going to say, instead of doing the thing, you're going to jump off the cushion and start writing because you feel like, no, I need to attend to this inspiration rather than attend to what it was that I was experiencing. And maybe that can happen as well too, but or it would just, you could just go numb. You could just go numb just before the thing falls. There's this period of like, nothing's happening, and you're just sitting there and you're just like, I'm restless as fuck. And can you sit with that? Can you observe that nothing is happening? Can you observe that you're no longer concentrated? Can you observe that you're extremely frustrated with your own performance? Can you observe that? And for myself, when I learned how, and this is only through trial and error and constant study and practice, but when I gained the ability to be okay with the fact that it seemed like nothing was happening, I feel like that was the biggest turning point in my entire meditative practice, because it was just like a surrender of the outcome, a fundamental surrender of the outcome. And I still have, areas of my life where I seek to get specific results, and when I don't get them, I get frustrated, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like I've leveled up significantly in that area. And also I have like the thing is this, like, as I said, when things get really mundane or really like you can't do this anymore, that's actually the moment right before something juicy usually happens. And so the way I like to think about it, one of my favorite metaphors about change is the fruit takes so long to ripen on the tree, and then suddenly it drops. And so as a meditator, sometimes you can be sitting there and nothing's happening, and you're like, okay, I'm observing, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden a volcano or some massive chip on your shoulder just crumbles down, and then you just can all of a sudden be a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter, a little bit more wiser, a little bit more clear. So yeah, work hard if you can. That's the bonus challenge, is to work hard to be equanimous and non-judgmental and even observant of the moments that are the most boring, the most mundane. Because right around the corner, not always, but often, right around the corner of those really super mundane experiences is something super profound. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. There's so much noise on the internet right now. There's so much noise in my apartment because there's renovations happening upstairs and to the side. But I hope this video was helpful and informative. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to make a note, and like, share, subscribe, you know the deal. Hey. Okay. Catch you all on the flip side. Peace. Love you.